Let me introduce with the characters of this lesson. Number 1, Nathu, the sweeper. Number 2, Sitaram. Number 3, Mrs. Srivastav. Number 4, Mrs. Bhushan. Number 5, the bank manager. Before starting with the topic, let us know something about the author. Ruskin Bond is an Indian author of British descent. He was born on 19th May 1934. He lives with his family in Mussoorie, India. The Indian Council for Child Education has recognized his role in the growth of children's literature in India. He was awarded the Sahitya Akademi Award in 1992 for Our Trees Still Grow in Dehra, his novel in English. He was awarded the Padma Shri in 1999 and the Padma Bhushan in 2014. The Boy Who Broke the Bank is a very interesting and humorous story written by Ruskin Bond. The story is about the murmuring of Nathu, a sweeper boy, about irregular payment of his salary. It takes the shape of a rumor and results into the collapse of a very sound bank. At the end of the story, Nathu, who is responsible for the whole episode, wonders innocently about the breaking of the bank. Nathu was a sweeper boy who cleaned the stairs of the People Nagar Bank owned by Seth Govindram. The bank was financially very sound and had won the trust of the depositors. One day, while sweeping the steps of the bank, he grumbled about the irregular payment of his salary by the bank authorities. Sitaram, the washerman's son, who passed by, talks to Nathu and learns about Nathu's complaints. Nathu tells him that he was planning to leave the job as soon as he gets his salary. Now, students, here one boy is there, Nathu. He is a sweeper boy who works in People Nagar Bank, which is owned by Seth Govindram. He was upset because he was not getting his salary in time. So Sitaram, the washerman's son, listens to his complaint and then he goes further. After listening to Nathu, Sitaram went to Mrs. Srivastav and in his loose talk with her, he comes to know that she was looking for a sweeper. Sitaram told her about Nathu and added that bank could not pay its employees. Mrs. Srivastav misunderstood Sitaram's statement and started believing that the People Nagar Bank was on the verge of bankruptcy. She met Mrs. Bhushan in the market and informed her about the weak position of the bank. Now, after listening to Nathu, Sitaram goes to Mrs. Srivastav for some work as he was a washerman. Now he comes to know that Mrs. Srivastav is searching for a sweeper. So, taking an opportunity, Sitaram just told her about Nathu that he was looking for a new job because his bank does not have sufficient money to pay his employees. So Mrs. Srivastav misunderstood his statement and she believed that the bank is on the verge of bankruptcy. It means the bank is running in loss. And on the way, she met Mrs. Bhushan and told her about the weak position of the bank. After listening this, Mrs. Bhushan went to the market and told her husband about the news of the bank. Her news shocked Kamal Kishore, the photographer Deep Chand, the barber, the bank's customer, and many others in the market. Deep Chand was so startled that he injured his customer while shaving. His customer tried to contact Govindram on phone, but as Govindram was enjoying his vacation at Kashmir, he was unavailable. This strengthened the rumor and it spread like a wildfire in the entire town of Peoplenagar. Now, when Mrs. Bhushan told her husband told Deep Chand, and in this way, slowly, the news spread in the market that Peoplenagar Bank is on the verge of bankruptcy. And Deep Chand was so shocked by this news that he cut off his customers' ear. Naturally, all the account holders and the depositors flocked near the bank premises and demanded their money back. By noon, all the cash was exhausted in the bank. The harassed manager tried to request the people to wait for a day so that he might manage for the emergency funds from another bank. But nobody was ready to accept the proposal. Now, when the news spread in the market that Peoplenagar Bank is bankrupt, so all the customers gathered near the bank premises and demanded their money. But manager tried to convince them, but nobody listened to. People wanted their amount at any cost. He tried to assure people of the sound condition of the bank and also adds that the bank has plenty of amount. But none believed in him. Some mischief mongers among the crowd excited people and started stoning the bank building and broke the glasses. Thus, a sound bank was broken unfortunately. The following day, when Nathu went to the bank for his duty, he found a lot of broken glasses and stones on the steps of the bank. Now here the manager convinced people, he tried to convince people that the bank is in a sound condition. But nobody believed him. So suddenly some mischief people, they started throwing stones on the bank and they broke the glasses. Now the next day when Nathu came there, he found some broken glasses and stones on the steps of the. He murmured angrily that the bank authorities were not paying him regularly on one hand and were also increasing his work. Sitaram comes and informs Nathu that he must accept the new job as the bank is already closed. Nathu was quite surprised to hear the news and wonders innocently. He murmured on the bank steps that nobody would ever have thought that the bank would collapse. For him, the event was a mystery. Now, after seeing all the stones and broken glasses on the stairs, Nathu was very angry because he was not understanding suddenly what happens to the bank. Now, at that time, Sitaram comes to him and informs him that now you should accept a new job because this bank is already in loss and it is closed. Now, Nathu was innocent and he was not knowing why the bank has collapsed. For him, everything was just a mystery. It was just a strange thing. Now, the moral of the story is rumors are spread from person to person and can change slightly each time they are told. As a result, they can become exaggerated and altered over time to time. Hence, it can cause many problems and can be destructive. Now, I will narrate this story. Section 2. The Boy Who Broke the Bank. Nathu grumbled to himself as he swept the steps of the Peoplenagar Bank owned by Seth Govindram. He used the small broom hurriedly and carelessly, and the dust, after rising in a cloud above his head, settled down again on the steps. As Nathu was banging his pan against a dustbin, Sitaram, the washerman's son, passed by. Sitaram was on his delivery round. He had a bundle of freshly pressed clothes balanced on his head. Don't raise such dust, he called out to Nathu. Are you annoyed because they are still refusing to pay you an extra 2 rupees a month? I don't wish to talk about it, complained the sweeper boy. I haven't even received my regular pay, and this is the 20th of the month. Who would trust a bank that holds up a poor man's salary? As soon as I get my money, I am off. Not another week would I work in this place. Nathu banged the pen against the dustbin several times, just to emphasize his point and give himself confidence. Well, I wish you luck, said Sitaram. I will keep a lookout for any jobs that might suit you. He plodded barefoot along the road, the big bundle of clothes hiding most of his head and shoulders. At the fourth home he visited, Sitaram heard the lady of the house mention that she was in need of a sweeper. Tying his bundle together, he said, I know of a sweeper boy who is looking for work. He can start from next month. He is with the bank just now, but they aren't giving him his pay and he wants to leave. Is that so? Said Mrs. Srivastav. Well, tell him to come and see me tomorrow. Sitaram was glad that he had been of service to both a customer and his friend. Mrs. Srivastav had to do some shopping. She set out for the Peoplenagar marketplace to make her customary tour of the cloth shops. A large shady tamarind tree grew at one end of the bazaar, and it was here that Mrs. Srivastav found her friend Mrs. Bhushan. Sheltering from the heat, Mrs. Bhushan showed her a sample of the cloth she was going to buy, and for 5 minutes they discussed its shape, texture, and design. Having exhausted this topic, Mrs. Srivastav said, do you know, my dear, that St. Govind Ram's bank can't even pay its employees? Only this morning I heard a complaint from their sweeper, who hasn't received his wages for over a month. Shocking, remarked Mrs. Bhushan. If they can't pay the sweeper, they must be in a bad way. None of the others could be getting paid either. She left Mrs. Srivastav and the tamarind tree and went in search of her husband, who was sitting in front of Kamal Kishore's photographic shop, talking with the owner. So there you are, cried Mrs. Bhushan. I have been looking for you for most an hour. Where did you disappear? I don't know what's happening to people Nagar. Even the bank's about to go bankrupt, she informed her husband. What's that? Said Kamal Kishore, sitting up suddenly. Which bank? Why the People Nagar Bank, of course. I hear they have stopped paying employees. Don't tell me you have an account there, Mr. Kishore. No, but my neighbor has, he explained, and he called out over the low partition to the keeper of the barber shop next door. Deepchand, have you heard the latest news? The People Nagar Bank is about to collapse. You would better get your money out as soon as you can. Deepchand, who was cutting the hair of an elderly gentleman, was so startled that his hand shook and he nicked his customer's right ear. The customer yelped with pain and distress. Pain not because of the cut and distress, but because of the awful news he had just heard. With one side of his neck still unshaven, he sped across the road to the general merchant store where there was a telephone. He dialed Seth Govindram's number. The Seth was not at home. Where was he then? The Seth was holidaying in Kashmir. Oh, was that so? The elderly gentleman did not believe it. He hurried back to the barber shop and told Deepchand. The bird has flown. Seth Govindram has left town. Definitely, it means a collapse. Then he dashed out of the shop, making a beeline for his office and checkbook. The news spread through the bazaar with the rapidity of forest fire. From the general merchants, it traveled to the shop, circulated among the customers, and then spread with them in various directions to the beetle seller, the tailor, the tea vendor, the jeweler, the beggar sitting on the pavement. Old Ganpat, the beggar, had a crooked leg. He had been squatting on the pavement for years calling for alms. In the evening, someone would come with a barrow and take him away. He had never been known to walk, but now, on learning that the bank was about to collapse, Ganpat astonished everyone by leaping to his feet and actually running at top speed in the direction of the bank. It soon became known that he had 1,000 rupees in savings. By noon, the small bank had gone through all its ready cash and the harassed manager was in a dilemma. Emergency funds could only be obtained from another bank, some 30 miles distant, and he wasn't sure he could persuade the crowd to wait until then. There was no way of contacting Seth Govind Ram on his houseboat in Kashmir. People were turned back from the counters and told to return the following day. They did not like the sound of that, so they gathered outside on the steps of the bank shouting, "Give us our money or we will break in," and fetch the safe. "We know he is hiding in a safe deposit locker." Mischief makers who didn't have a paisa in the bank joined the crowd and aggravated their mood. The manager stood at the door and tried to placate them. He declared that the bank had plenty of money but no immediate means of collecting it. He urged them to go home and come back the next day. "We want it now," chanted some of the crowd. "Now, now, now." A brick hurtled through the air and crashed through the glass window of the People Nagar Bank. Nathu arrived next morning to sweep the steps of the bank. He saw the refuse and the broken glass and the stones cluttering the steps. Raising his hands in a gesture of horror and disgust, he cried, "Hooligans! As though it isn't bad enough to be paid late, it seems my work has also to be increased." He swept the steps with his broom, scattering the refuse. "Good morning, Nathu," said the washerman's boy, getting down from his bicycle. "Are you ready to take up a new job from the first of next month?" "You will have to, I suppose, now that the bank is going out of business." "How's that?" asked Nathu. "Haven't you heard? Well, you would better wait here until half the population of People Nagar arrives to claim their money." He waved cheerfully. He did not have a bank account and sped away on his cycle. Nathu went back to sweeping the steps, muttering to himself. When he had finished his work, he sat down on the higher step to await the arrival of the manager. He was determined to get his pay. "Who would have thought the bank would collapse?" he said to himself and looked thoughtfully into the distance. "I wonder how it could have happened." Students, hope you have understood this lesson. Thank you.